Guys, Zuco here again for the birds. Back with another Shadowlands video. Today, how's everybody doing? First of all, today we're gonna talk about Ret Paladin. This is Clarence, by the way. You guys have met Clarence. He's my bug. He's the best. He's the best flying mount. Uh, no competition. He is clearly the best. We're talking about Ret Paladin today, and we're gonna go over the builds for 9.2 that I want to talk about. So again, for those of you guys who don't know, 9.2 we're getting double legendaries. So you can have a Covenant legendary and you can have a regular legendary. You can equip, both of them at the same time. So there's some really powerful combinations that we're going to talk about and we're going to cover for Ret Paladin in particular. We're going to mention, don't let me forget about the conduits. Some of those are actually really important for a couple of the builds. And I'm just going to talk about, generally speaking, what I think about the different builds, which ones I think they're all actually going to be strong. Um, and what how powerful I think Ret Paladin is going to be moving into 9.2. I think it's going to be very, very strong. It's going to have some wonderful combinations here. There's some potential for like ridiculous amounts of damage and potentially to have permanent wings. That might also be another thing. So let's just get into it. Right now, I'm Necrolord, and this has been my favorite Ret Paladin build so far. Um, Let me talk really quick about these combinations, and then we're actually going to jump over and look at the tier sets and what the tier set that's coming in 9.2 is going to do for our damage and how we want to build around that. So I'm running Necrolord right now. You get the Duty Bound Gavel, or sorry, Vanquisher's Hammer. And Vanquisher's Hammer, for you guys who don't know, you throw a hammer, and then your next single target ability, which is Templar's Verdict, will automatically trigger your AoE ability. So you just hit your single target and it triggers your AoE, which is really, really good. It just does extra damage and it's obviously great for AoE and Mythic Plus and stuff. The legendary is called Duty Bound Gavel. Vanquisher's Hammer gets another charge, and it'll give you 2 charges of the extra Divine Storm, right? So I'll show you what that looks like. You're going to throw your gavel. There, we threw it. I'm going to hit my single target ability once, and it triggers Divine Storm. I'm going to hit it again, and it triggers Divine Storm again. That's what the legendary does. It gives you that second proc from the one hammer, and it also gives you an additional charge of the hammer. So this is very, very powerful for Ret Paladin in general. It's just a ton of extra damage. I would say actually that if you don't have this legendary for Vanquisher's Hammer, the Vanquisher's Hammer is pretty lackluster compared to some of the other compared to going probably Kyrian or even Venthyr with Ashen Hallow. Just one charge of Vanquisher's Hammer and it only triggering one extra Divine Storm, it's a little bit lackluster, but having double that is really, really strong, actually. It makes this very, very good. Um, all the extra free damage you get and the extra chances to proc Divine Purpose, very, very good. That's been a wonderful legendary. What would we combine this with? Let's look at the first combination. In 9.2, we can combine this with other legendaries that are normal. The obvious contender is going to be this one, Tempest of the Lightbringer. Divine Storm projects a wave of light, striking all of my enemies in 20 yards. So, like, you're going to get free Divine Storm procs all the time, right? So this is sort of the obvious go-to what you would want to build. It's just going to give you 20% more damage basically every time you're doing this little combination. Or if you're in Mythic Plus and you're just doing AoE, then every time you hit your regular Divine Storm, it's also going to project a Divine Storm forward, right? So it's just good. This is just very good. I think Final Verdict is actually also very good. First of all, it buffs the damage of Templar's Verdict. This says 4758. My Templar's Verdict only does 38, so that's like 700, 800, actually 900 more damage per Templar's Verdict, which is very good. And with this build, with the Vanquisher's Hammer, you're pressing Templar's Verdict a lot because that's what's triggering your Divine Storm. So um, I think there's a place for Final Verdict here as well, especially on single target. If you're looking to go into a raid scenario and you're wondering, you want to go Necrolord, but you're wondering what's the second legendary you should take, Final Verdict is like perfectly fine. It's very good. Lots of extra damage, 15% chance to activate Hammer of Wrath. Huge. That's huge, guys. It's a lot of extra single target damage. Um, these two are sort of the obvious two. There's always Mad Paragon. I think with any one of these legendaries that you take, any one of the Covenant legendaries, if you go Kyrian, Venthyr, unfortunately you're not going to go Night Fae. Unfortunately, Night Fae is just not good enough. It just doesn't really do enough. There's sort of too much utility in in the Blessing of Summer and Blessing of Spring and all that stuff. I really wish that this was good, but it's sort of not. But Kyrian, Venthyr, or Necrolord, you could take Mad Paragon and getting Hammer of Wrath and extending wings, Hammer of Wrath damage and extending wings. Nothing wrong with that, guys. It's really really strong. This is going to be enormous. So but with specifically with Necrolord, I think these are two wonderful combinations here. And then obviously Mag Paragon is always going to be good. I was thinking about Magistrate's Judgment, but it's just not excuse me, it's just not good enough compared to these other two. Um, so you could go Relentless Inquisitor too and get more haste, but I think if you're looking for the craziest amount of damage, it's probably these two right here. Now let's look at these other two. Let's look at the Kyrian one first. So after you cast Divine Toll, instantly cast Judgment every 5 seconds. I've got this one right here, actually. So this one's obviously very good. I think most paladins that I've seen, period, whether they're Ret or Holy or Prot, they all use they're all Kyrian for the most part, and a lot of them do have this legendary, which is pretty good, obviously, for a lot of reasons. So for Ret Paladin, obviously, it throws an additional Judgment. Judgment is just like your biggest DPS increase. It does a lot of damage by itself, and it makes the enemy take 25% more damage from your next Holy Power spender. So if you press Judgment and then you press Templar's Verdict or whatever, obviously they're taking 25% more damage. This just gives you a free Judgment, which gives you a free Holy Power and a free 25% boost to your next spender. So it's really good. And then obviously, when you cast Divine Toll, you get 5 judgments just straight up. So this does a ton of damage. It does a ton of damage for sure, and it has some divine purpose synergies there for sure. So that'll be good. And then obviously you can run any of these that you want down here on the bottom, but this is just going to be strong for sure. I don't think there's any other real synergies here for judgment. So yeah, but it's just lots of damage. You can combine the divine resonance one with basically either of these two probably, because the chances of the generation, the Holy Power generation from Divine Toll and Divine Resonance is huge. You're getting 5 judgments just from casting Divine Toll. Then you're getting 3 more judgments over 15 seconds. And if you have Mechanicos, then the cooldown of Divine Toll is going to be like after 15 seconds, it's probably only 30 seconds away. So you're going to be able to cast it again. The Holy Power generation is crazy. It's off the charts, which means you're going to be spending a lot of the Holy Power generation. And so you're going to, one of these two legendaries is great because you're pressing these spenders more often than normal, and therefore you're getting more damage from it. Mad Paragon, again, is also fine. You could actually pair this up with the Magistrate's Judgment, obviously, because Judgment has a 75% chance to reduce. But, like, this is overkill, because if you cast Divine Toll and it throws out 5 judgments, you're going to get this proc, and then you're probably going to get this proc again, so you're wasting a proc. So this could be good though with the Divine Resonance, that every 5 seconds it throws out a judgment, and maybe that judgment that it throws out gets you a free, like, reduces the Holy Power spender by 1. So this could be okay. Certainly when you press Divine Toll, you're guaranteed to get Magistrate's Judgment. Like, I just don't see you not getting it. And then every 5 seconds afterwards, maybe you get another Magistrate's Judgment proc. So it could be okay. It could just be a crazy amount of, again, it's going to be a crazy amount of Holy Power generation, and then you're reducing the cost of your abilities, which smooths out the rotation. If you ever end up in a drought where you don't, maybe you're not getting your Art of War procs on Blade of Justice, and you're just running out of resources for like 2, 3, 4 seconds, you're not pressing any buttons, that can be a big DPS loss. So this could kind of smooth that out. But these are probably the best two, and then Mad Paragon is just always really good. Here's where Mad Paragon gets really crazy, though, guys. If you take the Venthyr legendary, I think I've got it here somewhere. Ashen Hallow. Ashen Hallow's duration goes up by 50%, and if you leave the hallowed area, then the cooldown reduction on the ability goes down. I actually used this in Castle Nathria, and it was good. It actually worked. It worked well. It kind of makes the cooldown of Ashen Hallow janky if you do have to leave. Ideally, you want to stay in the Ashen Hallow for the full duration. So instead of it lasting 30 seconds, it lasts 45 seconds, which is like an eternity, and it does more damage because it's lasting longer. It ends up doing like 20 or 25,000 damage, and then it also heals everybody. It's still the insane cooldown that we all know it is. However, when you combine this with the Mad Paragon, um, it just gets really stupid because when you're in Ashen Hallow, for those of you guys who know, you get to cast Hammer of Wrath for free. Hammer of Wrath is usually an execute, but you get to cast it no matter what when you're in Ashen Hallow. So you get to stand in Ashen Hallow for 45 seconds, and you cast Hammer of Wrath on cooldown. Mine's got a 5.6 second cooldown. Also, when you combine it with Mad Paragon, all those Hammer of Wraths now do 30% more damage, and they extend wings. So like, you put down Ashen Hallow, you pop wings, and then you just start throwing hammers. And they do extra damage when you're in the Ashen Hallow, and they do extra damage because of Mad Paragon, and they extend wings. So like, this is kind of a no-brainer. You could combine this with Crusade and get haste and damage done by 3%. Like, you would have this buff gets stacked, caps it at 30%. This would be capped out the whole time, and you might just keep wings up like the entire time that you're there. I mean, you could go Sanctified Wrath as well and make Avenging Wrath last for 25 seconds, and that gives you more opportunity to extend it with Mad Paragon. So this combination is really, really gross. I think it's going to be amazing. Radiant Embers with Mad Paragon, if you're looking to, like, probably in a raid scenario, it would be really strong. It's a huge cooldown that you can drop probably twice per fight, as long as you drop it like right on pull, and the damage you're going to get out of it is going to be absolutely nuts. So that's one to look out for. Unfortunately, like I said before, not a lot of synergies with the Night Fae stuff, not enough damage coming out of the Night Fae stuff. So if you really want to play Night Fae, you can just combine it with any of these other regular legendaries and get a damage boost. So um, that's the combinations that I'm looking at, guys, for 9.2 in terms of the two legendaries you'll be able to equip. Let's look for a second at the tier set that's coming for Paladin. So here it is here. Ashes to Ashes. This is actually really cool. So here's what it says. When you benefit, the 2-piece says when you benefit from Art of War, you get Seraphim for 2 seconds. Seraphim is a really awesome buff. It's a talent you can actually take. Let me just switch back really quick to WoW and show you what it looks like. So Seraphim is this here. So you get 8% haste, crit, and versatility, and then you get 13% mastery. That's just what I get. I think those change a little bit depending on your stats, but that's a really powerful buff. Now, you only get it for 2 seconds, so like, I wish almost it was higher than 2, like maybe 3 seconds would make it a good, but Seraphim's just a really, really crazy cooldown to get. So nothing wrong with this 2-piece at all. I'm going to talk about Art of War in a minute. What's the 4-piece? The 4-piece says Art of War has a 50% chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes instead of Blade of Justice. So this is absolutely insane. Resetting the cooldown of Wake of Ashes is so much better than Blade of Justice. It's so good. Let me show you. Wake of Ashes used to be a talent back in the day, but it's baseline now. So it does, for me, it does 6,000 damage, and it can stun undead enemies, and it generates 3 holy power, and it has a 45-second cooldown. So Art of War, if you guys who don't know, is your passive. Your auto attacks have a chance to reset the cooldown of Blade of Justice. But once you have this tier set, your auto attacks will have a chance to reset the cooldown of Art of War instead. I think a 50% chance, right? Is what I just read. Yeah, 50% chance. So half the time you're going to be resetting Wake of Ashes instead, which is absolutely crazy. And what's going to make this tier set even more crazy is in the conduits here. So there's a conduit for Wake of Ashes that makes it burn enemies, which is a lot of damage. So this is really strong. You're going to want to take this conduit, and then you're going to want to take this conduit here. Blade of Justice crits cause the target to burn because you're going to be casting Blade of Justice probably a lot more. And then the final thing that you might want to look at doing in your talent tree in order to get more procs of Art of War is you want to take Blade of Wrath. So Art of War resets the cooldown of Blade of Justice 100% more often. This is an essential talent that you have to take once you get this tier set. And Zeal, Judgment empowers you with Holy Zeal, causing your next 3 auto attacks to occur 30% faster. Why does that matter? Well, because Art of War is based on your auto attacks. And so you have a two-hander, so you kind of have slow auto attacks. So getting 30% quicker auto attacks every time you press Judgment is really, really strong. And actually, you could combine Zeal with the Divine Resonance. So Divine Toll throws out a whole bunch of judgments, which will all make your auto attacks proc more quickly, which will allow you to trigger Art of War more quickly. And with the Divine Resonance one, every 5 seconds afterwards, another judgment goes out, which gets you another Zeal proc, which is going to get you a better chance to reduce the cooldown of, or to trigger Art of War, which, if you have the tier set bonus, will give you a 50% chance to get you your Wake of Ashes back. Right, so that's kind of a complicated mumbo jumbo, but that's what you're looking for. You want to take these two talents, and you want to have extra damage amps from the Wake of Ashes talent and the Blade of Justice talent, and then you just have to have the tier set and hope for the best. Hope that you get the reset on Wake of Ashes instead of getting the Blade of Justice reset. Like, the chances of that happening, 50% is enormous. So this is an incredible damage boost to us. The 2-piece bonus, getting Seraphim, is okay, but the 4-piece bonus is insane. It's really, really good, guys. So, um, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for Paladin, for 9.2 for Ret Paladin. I think that these two legendaries are both incredibly strong with all the with both Kyrian Venthyr and with Necrolord. I think that the crazy DPS build is going to be the Ashen Hallow Radiant Embers with the Mad Paragon, extending Avenging Wrath, potentially extending like Sanctified Wrath, so you're exploding every time you do Holy, or you could go Crusade. You're just extending that, and you're doing crazy amounts of damage with your Hammer of Wrath. But the Necrolord one is also fine too. You could get the extra, um, Divine Storms, sending out those the waves in front of you, in 20 yards in front of you. Like, that's also really, really strong with the extra procs that you're going to be getting from Vanquisher's Hammer. So Final Verdict is also strong. The only other caveat might be doing the Kyrian build with Judgment, but I think honestly Mad Paragon plus these two, those are going to be your 3 go-to legendaries, and then you could go Necrolord, or you could go Kyrian, or you could go Venthyr. Those are all like going to be really, really strong for Ret Paladin moving into 9.2. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think. What do you think about Ret Paladin? I think it's gonna be really strong. This might be what I main going into the next raid. I might actually take this Ret Paladin for a spin in the raid, which would be really fun. And yeah, it's gonna be a close call between this and my enhancement shaman. We'll have to see. But yeah, let me know what you think, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.